Hey, good afternoon, everybody. It's Alan Thomas with Rethink Dieting, and I've got a rethinker with me, John Iverson, who is joining me, and we're going to talk a little bit about his journey. So, John, tell everybody a little bit about who you are and a little bit about you.
Sure. Yeah. Well, I'm a 61-year-old guy who was putting on some pounds a little bit at a time, and I was watching it on the scale, and I thought I need to do something about that, And I've got 4 adult kids. I love to be active with them. We do some backcountry skiing, which was a big part of this. It's like we went backcountry. We've been backcountry skiing for the last few years. Been skiing all my life, but this backcountry stuff is kind of new. And it's difficult because you hike up and then you ski down. And the last time I did it, I thought, why am I carrying extra weight up the mountain with me? It'd be easier if I weren't doing that. So, and I've got a first grandchild on the way coming up in June. So that's huge. And I'm just a guy that I want to be a healthy guy and be around for a while and be able to function.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. And I mean, and a lot of people, because, we've helped so many people who have got an extraordinarily large amount of weight to lose a lot of times. I hear this a lot, from folks, and the amount of weight is really not the issue. The amount of weight is, what does it stop you from doing? And so I mean, you kind of led into it a little bit from there, but I'd love for you to kind of speak to kind of before the journey began, the Rethink Dieting journey began, because we don't give you a diet to follow, we don't give you an exercise plan to follow, and everybody looks at me like I've got two heads, because a core belief that I have, and it's been proven over and over again, is it's always a decision. It's never the diet. Do you have to change what you eat? 100%. I mean, you crushed your goal. I mean, you hit it like, was it 48 days early, 42 days early, something like that?
It was early.
It was. I remember it was 40 something days. I'm like, holy smokes, this guy's just blowing it away. So I think it's really interesting, kind of walk through where it was impacting you, those extra pounds that you had. I mean, you dropped and feel free to share if you want to, how much you dropped, but what it was really stopping you from, not just in the physical aspect, but in other areas too.
Yeah. So as I mentioned, the weight was kind of, just kind of being added on a little bit here and there. Right. And I would weigh myself occasionally, and the scale was creeping up. And then one day I hit 203, which for me was a big deal. That was huge, because several years earlier, I kind of inadvertently got into doing CrossFit, didn't really realize what I was getting into in my 50s. And I was in the best shape of my life when I was like, mid to late 50s. And then, and I was doing that with some of my kids too, and that kind of dropped off. And then COVID hit, and things just kind of slowed down, and that's when the scale started to move up. And I thought, I mean, I could see where the curve was going, right? If I was plotting that out, and I'd rather the graph were going the other way. So, and it comes to that physical health piece. When I was doing CrossFit, I was like 180 pounds. And I'm like, how did I come up 22, 23 pounds? That's just, wow. And it's, it's just bit by bit too. You don't really think that much about it. And I think crossing into 200 pounds kind of struck me. And then when I hit 203, it's like, this is not stopping. I got to do something. So, and just so several years previous, I was in pretty good shape, and I knew what that was like. And I much preferred that over what I was. And then part of working with you was, snapping a couple pictures of what I looked like and sending them to you. I didn't like that activity at all. And when I took those pictures, I'm like, I got to do something about this. And I'm glad I'm doing something about it. So,
you crushed it. Yeah.
Yeah. And then the whole, one of the reasons I reached out was because something I know about myself is I'm much more likely to do something if I'm held accountable. I mean, I think that's true of everybody. It's definitely true of me. And if I can, have someone holding me accountable on a regular basis, whatever that means, and I didn't know what that was going to mean, I just knew there was a much greater chance that I would make some progress, and I did. So
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
my goal was to get down to 179 pounds, lose 22 pounds. And I didn't set an aggressive goal. It was just like, if I just do a little bit at a time, make it more of a
Mm-hmm.
lifestyle thing, it'll
Mm-hmm.
happen. And it was kind of an arbitrary goal and kind of an arbitrary timeline, but
Mm-hmm.
it all worked out. So thanks to you.
Yeah, you think. Well, no, you stepped into it in a big way, and what's significant about this too, because really the 22 pounds can be a lot tougher to lose. What my number is, everybody knows, is when I saw that 300 staring at me, on the scale, and I wish I'd have stopped at the 200, but I went on, and that's what so many people don't get. I mean, I talk to people every day, John, that they're at 250, they're at 270, they're at 190, they're whatever the number is, and they think that's going to be the stopping point. But what I was so impressed about you in our first conversation was the real concern and deep rooted concern that you had, was that it was going to keep going like mine did way back in the day. Yeah. And that it was going to keep going up, and all of those things, that it would stop, not just for health. I mean, obviously health's a given. You want, if you don't have your health, you have nothing. But you clearly got that, and it was so, it's so interesting that you could have just pushed it aside and said, oh well, everybody's 20 pounds, everybody's 30 pounds, but you saw that it could have been 50 or 100 if you hadn't done something about it.
Yeah, and I think one of the drivers for me is, for whatever reason, I find like there's a type of person I see, and I want to be like that. Mm-hmm. And when I see older guys that are fit and they're like kind of calm and wise, it's like I want to emulate that. That's kind of what I want, right? Mm-hmm. And so, and I know a couple people like that, and actually, as part of the accountability was to invite some people to help me be accountable. And I just happened to bump into one of those guys right as we were starting this process. And I'm like, how would you like to jump on board here and check in with me on a regular basis and see how I'm doing and help me out? So that, connecting with that individual helped out a lot. So the whole accountability model, which is what I was looking for, the way you did it, worked great for me. So.
Yeah, well, and you also, I mean, you've had a career in the school systems and all that, and now, and you've been a coach too, and talk about what that's been like, to really, the extra confidence that you've gained as you lost the pounds, the confidence that you've gained, and some of the things that you've been doing there. I mean, I'd love for people to hear about that, because that to me is what this is all about. It really unleashing your potential that's hidden beneath pounds. Yep.
So I've been in public education for a long time, like 30 years. And I finally left it a couple of weeks ago and been doing some coaching and now stepping into that full time. And I found that when I'm carrying an extra 22 pounds or whatever it is, that I'm not really being authentic in what I'm saying and what I'm sharing with others and encouraging others to be. And that bothered me. So I wanted to make sure that I was doing myself what I was, trying to get other people to engage in. And so once that started, the pounds start dropping and I'm counting my calories, which for some weird reason I kind of think is fun, just to count the calories. Then your confidence, it increases as you, and it's not even just dropping the weight. It's like knowing that you have self-control, I think is huge. And that you have
absolutely
the agency to author your own story. Because I think a lot of us go through life thinking, or not even recognizing or realizing we have the agency. We can author our own story, right? So, and that's what I try and help other people see, is that you're not a victim. You have options, and it's all about the choices you make. And it's just like little small movements every day. That's all it takes. And that's why it's like mine. It's like I started in later August and it took me into December to lose 22 pounds. And that was small steps along the way. Although I know that was fast compared to how long it took me to put the weight on, right? So we say it's slow, but it's not really slow. But anyway, so, and then as I mentioned to you also, it's like, I was getting out and playing some music in front of people, and just feeling better about yourself when you're stepping in front of people. It's like, it's kind of intimidating, right? To step in front of people and like share what you do or don't do very well. So if you're physically in a shape that you're just more comfortable with, it just makes the whole thing a better experience.
Yeah. And I think that's so, that's so important because, so many people miss that. I mean, we talk about all the time, if it was just health, and by the way, I want people to be healthy. I mean, clearly I want people to be healthy. I want them to have a great physical life. But if it were just health that were going to influence us to lose weight, we'd have done it already. I mean, everybody would be perfect size. They'd be at their ideal weight, whatever that weight is. Yeah. And it wouldn't be it. But it's all those other things that we kind of shove down. And I think it was so awesome when you told me you're getting back in a band. I mean, clearly you got music behind you. You're in a music room there, which everybody sees you, probably think you're Peter Frampton's cousin or something, and with all the guitars and stepping in. I think it's interesting, the timing, and I certainly didn't see it coming. I didn't know, but the timing that you're stepping into really your dream of leaving the public sector and doing your own coaching and having that confidence. I mean, so what would you say kind of going forward? I mean, where do you see this? The big question I hear all the time, and I think it always kind of tickles me that people, men and women both that we work with, they're always so concerned about keeping it off before they get there. You kind of have to get there first. And you've taken on this identity now of being this fit. You said 61. You clearly don't act or look like 61, but 61-year-old guy. Now you have this identity. How hard would it be for you to go back now? I mean, what would you, from a mindset perspective?
How hard would it be for me to go?
Yeah,
Well, I mean, it would be hard for me to go back to that. If I were back at that, I wouldn't stay there. I would work my way back out again, right? You
become a different person. Yeah.
It's not a place I want to be.
And therefore you won't be.
No. And I've been to a couple different doctors recently for whatever, but they both, this is so funny to me. They both said, well, you're a young, healthy guy. And I'm like, what?
You like that?
I don't know that's completely accurate. But, and I said, and the one doctor said, well, you're not on any medications. I'm like, oh yeah, you're right. I'm not. I suppose a lot of people are. I don't know, but that's not something I want. So I'm doing what I can to avoid that. And, you can't stop getting older, but you can certainly stay active and try and stay healthy and, just be fully functional as long as you can be. So, and I think I shared with you also, I don't know if this is possible, but I would like to be backcountry skiing up until I'm 70 years old. So that's kind of my goal. So I got another 9 years, hopefully.
Yeah. And I think, well, I don't know what's possible. I mean, but what's so really, really cool about it is, statistically, that men especially, we can check out as much as 20 years early. And I don't know I'm not a doctor. I can't speak to the statistics exactly but the 22 pounds, made you younger. There's no question. Yeah. It made not just from a physical, how you feel, but really from a longevity side. I mean, statistically, sure. You have to, unless you could get hit by the Domino's pizza driver tomorrow, we all could, but at the end of the day, you clearly have extended it. But really, again, what I love so much, and when our first conversation, it's so funny, just when I heard the potential in there that was being hidden by the pounds, that's what excites me, how you've stepped into those areas of the coaching, and now you're stepping into it from an authenticity side, and maybe people wouldn't have even noticed, but you knew. And that's the piece that we miss, is that when the place between our ears where we feel limited is going to be our limitation. It doesn't matter what other people think, whether they do or not. If we think that, then man, it's going to mess us up.
Right.
So, what would you say to somebody that's in a struggle as far as, and again, this is not about you doing a commercial, but just from your experience, what would you say to somebody that's afraid to get on that call with me? Because I do hundreds of these, and funny when I talk to people who said, yeah, I pushed the button like 10 times, but I've been afraid to call it because, and it's so funny. I'm like, yeah, I'm pretty rough. So what would you say to somebody that's really thinking about whether they've got 20 pounds or 200 pounds to lose or anything in between?
Yeah. I would say, consider what's going to happen long-term if you don't make the call. That's the thing, because you're at a point now where you're concerned, and if you're thinking about calling, you obviously think you are carrying some extra pounds, and carrying extra pounds has some consequences that go with it that kind of amplify and over time. And if you don't, think about that. If you don't take action now, where are you going to be 5 years from now?
Yeah.
Someplace you do not want to be. And I know it's scary. It's like, I didn't know you, and I picked up the phone and called your email. I don't remember what the initial connection was, but it's like, I think this is a way to me improving my quality of life. And so you improve your quality of life. And what kind of price tag can you put on? You can't put any price on that. It's just like, it's invaluable. So I would say, just do it. Just take action, make the call. What's the worst that can happen? Yeah. Nothing. What's the best that can happen? A lot.
So. Well, and you've stepped in. Here's the thing, be clear. You stepped in, you did the things we asked, you did the work, and you got the result. And that's it. It's about the result. It's not about some magical formula or magic pill. I don't have magic pills. As I say to everyone, if you find a box, please send them to me. I'll I'll pay double. But they don't exist. It's an area of success that you made a decision about, and you took clear steps of action that led to an outcome that's impacting your recreation, is impacting your family, it's impacting your business now, it's impacting the fun stuff you do, the musical things you do, which is clearly fun for you, and all of those areas, plus longevity, plus health. So great job, John. It's been an absolute pleasure to see you soar, and love to watch it. And for those of you guys that are watching this and wonder about this, you can go to rethinkdieting.com and you can see the 5-step strategy that I use with John and everybody that I work with. And that is totally free. And if you want to have a conversation like John did, go to transformmyfuture.com/apply, where we map out your strategy. And so, John, great job. Congratulations on your success. Again, it was like, wow, you did it. You're ahead of schedule. And I love, if you can't be on time, be early, right?
There you go.
And all right. Well, guys, y'all have a great day, and check out rethinkdieting.com, and God bless.